Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice came out. This is the new From Software game. And Leigh and Derrick, you've been exploring the dark depths of Japan, I guess. So,
Yes.
why don't you, Derrick? Why don't you tell me how far are you into this game and what's going on with it? What can people expect if they're into From Software games, and does it live up to the hype?
Well, off the bat, you can the difficulty's there. Like that
Yeah.
difficulty you know and love from software games is there. I would say probably even harder than your Souls and Bloodborne series.
Okay.
Just due to like the different style of gameplay. So you're kind of like you're jumping from up on top of buildings. You're trying to like sneak up. So it's kind of different approach to their combat mechanics. That
Right. So stealth is a
kinda,
big thing, right?
yeah, and you kind of got to try to like break yourself away from it, which is kind of hard.
Okay.
So as far as how far I've made it so far, not that far.
Okay. Why
Um,
don't you set us up with the story? Like, what is the setting? What's the deal? Why are you securoing or whatever you're doing in it?
well, that's the name of your guy is Sekiro.
Okay, so it's
Also
the
known
character
as,
name.
yeah, he's known as the Wolf though, more widely throughout the story.
Okay, so that's a big
And
difference right off the bat. Is you're actually a character. You're not
yes,
some undead random person.
Mm.
right. And I think it's mainly due to is there's no multiplayer aspect, so it's more of telling a story versus just here's this big open world with huge ass bosses for you to kill.
Okay.
Mm. Yeah.
Is it more linear than like a Dark Souls or a Bloodborne? Not
Um,
that those were really big open games or anything like that, but there were multiple paths you could wander off and find like a side boss or something like that that wasn't part of the main quest, so to speak.
um, this one you can wander around quite a bit,
Okay.
but once you get to a certain point, it'll kind of like ghost out where you can go through because it really wants you to beat one of these mini bosses to
Okay.
proceed. It's kind of
Mm.
like a very loose quest system that it has.
Okay.
Mm. It kind of funnels you through because it unlike Dark Souls where you're just picking up weapons upon weapons upon weapons. You have one weapon. You have a katana. But what it
Okay.
does, it filters you through because you lose your arm a little way into, like at the beginning of the game, and you have a prosthetic arm that you can swap in and swap out. And those arms are normally centered around bosses. Those extra arms
Okay.
that you take back and then you forge to build a new arm to swap out to put on. So it kind of does field you into kind of those boss battles. So it is wide open for an extent, and then it wants to hone you in because you should around the area somewhere pick up that thing that's going to help you advance the game.
Okay. So you pick up the arm before the boss or after the boss?
After
Is
the
it like
boss, around about the boss, yeah.
it's not
Yeah,
like a reward for killing the boss. It's like it's something you need for the boss.
yeah. Because
Yeah.
there was a couple that were hidden. Like you go back into a memory,
Okay.
and you actually get two of them from there, and then off the bat, just in like the normal areas, you find the shurikens, and then in the
Mm.
memory you get the fire and the axe.
A fireball type effort. It's a fire shooting. Shuriken shoots at kind of. It's like a shuriken launcher type prosthetic arm type
Okay.
thing. When you get things like that. Also, coupled with the thing where you have a grapple with your other arm as well.
Right. So
The grapple opens it up a lot more differently as well. I feel.
okay. How does
The
the grapple's kind of a big deal with the stealth, right? Because you can get up high above the enemy, and then I've seen
Yeah.
gameplay where you can take out like stealth kill enemies from above and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing with the game. It's kind of yes, it is from the Dark Souls people, and it does have that Dark Souls lineage and that style of the breaks and the bars and the whittling the bars, the health bars down and stuff like that. But From Software are also known for making Tenshu games,
Hmm.
and if you try to play it like a Souls game, it's kind of a fool's errand. You're going to get screwed over very, very quickly. If you play it more as a kind of a stealth type game, and then encounter stuff when you have to, when it's right in front of you, you're probably going to get a lot further. It's got a lot more in common with something like a Tenchu. So it is kind of, there's a move that it don't necessarily tell you how to do until you do it, like a stealth from above. So you can kind of skip to a rooftop, which you could do in the old Tenchu games. Do a launch off, stab in, and then kind of yeet out with your, or go dip into a bush, or go out with your grapple again and never be seen. It's not one of those things where you have to take that confrontation. There's a lot of verticality going on with this that you don't get in the Souls at all. Head on will normally get you into a lot of trouble.
For a modern reference, like an Assassin's Creed, where you would there's a
lot of Assassin's Creed to it.
Yeah, you wanna get to the rooftops, survey the area, and then take out as many targets as you can without being seen, and then eventually you're gonna get to the point where you expose yourself, and then a different kind of combat happens. That combat is different than what we're used to in the Souls games as well. It's not quite as, I guess, well, like stamina based. And stuff like that. There's like you're doing a lot of parrying and stuff like that, right?
Yeah. What they have now is a posture system due to like the katana combat. So you can hold and block, and then if you can time the strikes right, which is part of like the learning curve of the combat for this, you can actually parry their attack back, and it'll open up what's called a death blow. Because that's the thing too, is you can't just, every enemy you just can't like whittle away, like hop away, come back, strike a couple times. You're trying to break their posture to trigger a death blow so that you can insta kill them. But now your mini bosses and bosses aren't just giant health bars. They'll have a little red icon above their health bar, and it's how many death strikes it takes to actually kill them.
Okay. So how does that feel? Does it feel good? Is it satisfying to do that? Do you prefer the Dark Souls Bloodborne fashion? How do you feel about it?
It was very satisfying, and it's a lot faster as well. So the parry, when you get the parry, it's actually kind of more forgiving than you think it is. It's still quite tight because it needs that difficulty, but kind of you never feel cheated out of missing one of your parry to death blow things. You don't feel cheated out of them. It's like, well, I've missed that one. And that thing, and it's a quite quick, fluid animation. Parry, stab, dead, and it feels a lot slick because Souls can feel quite heavy sometimes. A heavy roll, a heavy kind of dodge. Yeah, but this is very nippy. You can kind of scoot around because they've got a lock-on system. Obviously, with you click your R in, you can kind of loop around people and stuff like that. It's quite good.
Okay, so the lock-on system is still similar to the previous games.
Yeah, but it helps you dip around a lot quicker.
Okay.
A hell of a lot quicker.
Yeah, because I'm playing the Souls games, I kind of go back and forth with the lock-on, whether or not I feel like it's
helpful or not.
Yeah, whether or not it's the way to go. And I think a lot of it comes down to each individual fight. But you're saying that in this case it's more useful than it is not. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Because it helps with the stealth kind of, you need to get in and get out. You can't be risking just hoping for the best. And stuff like I said, like the aerial off of a roof to take somebody out quickly doesn't work if you don't have the lock-on. Because it will bring up this thing where it will tell you have a dot, which is kind of a white dot, which is a lock-on, and then the red, it will turn red when you can do a death blow.
Okay.
You won't be able to do a death blow if you're not locked in. It won't signify you to it. So those moves don't work. So you do have to use it a lot more.
How do the boss battles work? Are they similar? Or are you doing the stealth thing, or are they more head-on encounters?
For the one that I'm trying to do right now, it's a mini boss. You can stealth in, and if you're lucky enough, you can get a death blow on the first strike. But then after that, you're going to be working your ass off to try to break the posture and get the next one.
Okay.
As far as like the main big bosses, I have not got far enough to encounter one yet. just due to having that bigger learning curve and wanting to mastering that parrying system before I take on something like that. Because another thing to bring up is they have this dragon rot system in the game,
Right.
to where instead of penalizing you as the player, stat wise, the
When you die.
NPCs around you, when you die now, the NPCs around you and the world gets this dragon rot. And what it does is if you die too many times, it's slowly going to kill off the NPCs or to make it where they can't talk to you. And then you can't progress any of the quests you're doing.
Okay.
And it's also been said that resources to fix this are limited. So it's not like in Dark Souls where you could go grind out 20, 30 human effigies and be good. You know, you could fail and it's not going to mean anything. In this game, to fail and to repeatedly fail, it's going to mean something, because at some point down the line, you're not going to be able to fix this problem and then you're going to be stuck. So wanting to learn the parrying system to master these systems, a lot bigger part of the game than it would be in like a Dark Souls game.
Now there's like some sort of resurrection thing too, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird how it works, because sometimes you can resurrect just once, and then every now and then a second bar will fill up as well and show up, and I've gotten 2 resurrections in a row.
Okay. Now does resurrection penalize you?
No. It's just once you have that death.
So after you've used your resurrections, then that's when you actually die, and then that's when you get the dragon rot thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The penalty is used in resurrection, where you literally spawn straight back into the battle where you are.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and that is the thing that gives you the punishment. And
is there any resource loss on death?
Yeah.
No, you'd have to go. Do you?
Yeah, you lose a good bit amount of the money and a little bit of the basically the XP that you gain.
Okay. And that's on death or resurrection as well?
That's just on death.
Just on death, okay.
Yeah, I noticed I had like 1,000 of the coins that we get, and I died and lost like 400 of them.
Okay. Can you go and pick up what you've lost, or is it gone forever, like in Dark Souls? Or
it's gone forever.
Okay.
Because like I said, you don't really lose any of the items you had, because you can get like little things to like boost your stats or boost attack power slightly. You don't lose any of that, but like it takes away like a little bit of your XP. I haven't really noticed like a substantial amount of XP lost, like maybe like 30, 40, but it like took a big chunk out of the money I earned.
Okay, so in Dark Souls, really in Bloodborne, the main currency was your souls or your blood echoes, and you use that to upgrade things and also upgrade your character and also buy things. But in here there's 2 different currencies. There's money and XP. Does the XP work like souls, or is it different?
No, XP in this one, it's straight up XP. You have to gain a certain amount to get to the thing is, you don't level up. What you do is you gain skill points. Once you fill up your bar and gain so much experience, it'll give you a number. And like you could keep farming that out to raise the number. And then once you go to this the skill tree, which is new to From Software game, and you put it in for like I got this move called Whirlwind. It cost me 1 point to get that, and then a point to do the upgrade. So that was 2 of the skill points I've earned right there. And then there's a couple different ones you can get. There's not like hundreds and hundreds of skills. There's like I got this whirlwind attack, then you can upgrade it a couple times, and each time it's going to cost you more skill points. Like the first one was 1, the next thing's 1, but then it branches off, so those 2 cost 2 skill points to get.
Okay. So, but it's not like a huge giant skill tree. It's kind of limited,
nah,
but
maybe got
each branch branches off a little bit. Okay. And now you say you get these upgrade numbers. Can you lose those too?
Yeah, because if you don't go spend it and then you lose part of it and it drops below whatever that number was that increased it, you're gonna lose that point then.
Okay. And then so what's the money for?
Right now the only thing I can buy is I forget what they are called, but it's the resource you use your prosthetic arm.
Okay.
Um,
Okay, so there's like, let's like, you have to buy, let's say, like magic to use your arm or something like that.
yeah, it looks like a little like cross type thing, like a talisman type deal.
Okay.
From the start right now, you can hold 15 of them on you.
Okay.
I
So
think
it's not
the
a meter,
fire,
it's like an actual.
yeah,
Okay.
it's like the when you use the axe and the shurikens, it's one charge per time, and I think the fire's two maybe.
Okay. And
Yeah.
this is just as to use your arm as the weapon. You don't expend those to use it as like the grappling hook.
No, the grappling
No.
hook's like free use. You can use that as much as you want, and there's actually a
Okay.
skill you can get to where you can like grapple onto the enemies. I haven't got it yet because I
Okay.
was trying to get this like little whirlwind attack that kind of helps staggers the enemies a little bit.
Okay.
Probably your most essential item is your grapple, more so than your sword.
Yeah.
Okay. How is so we touched upon like the basic story elements. How is it beyond that? Is it interesting story? Because I know the Souls games can have kind of a obtuse story, not exactly delivered in a traditional format, but this seems to
Kinda
be a
dry.
little bit more traditional in its delivery. Is it interesting? Is it
Yeah.
Yeah, you still like in this one you kind of know what the story is. It's just
Right.
unraveling it because you know you're trying to go save your the child, which is like your master or
Mhm.
your emperor.
Child Prince.
I think it's child prince. You're trying to go save him, and it's kind of like you jump into this memory, which actually puts you 3 years in the past. But
Okay.
we're not really sure how far that goes in because that's kind of like where I'm stuck right now is trying to figure out this one mini boss to proceed further in this memory.
Okay.
But then I can come back to like the future, and then I can go off to the separate path and start working that way. But then it just seems like things are 10 times as harder as they should be without going to this other area.
All right. So overall, we satisfied with it? Does it live up to the legacy of the studio, or is it, what's the consensus?
Yeah. It's their most polished, I think, of all of their things.
Oh, right. Let's talk
all of
about let's talk about performance. Like, how's it look? How's it play on what you're playing on? Because that's been an issue with these games as well.
No, it's played very nicely. Like I'm playing on the PS4 Pro, and it's been real nice. I haven't really noticed any like frame rate issues, especially when like dodging around and then like trying to like swing away up into a tree branch or hop on top of a building. The responsiveness has been pretty well.
Yeah, because you definitely want that. You want it to be snappy, so you don't want to fight really hard enemies and also fight the controls and lagginess and stuff like that.
Yeah, which is something I'll be testing out since we kind of mentioned like the controls. Is apparently I was reading that my controller has a latency issue, and I think that might be part of my problems with trying to parry as well as I think I should be. So it's something I'll be testing out.
Are you using
controller?
just a regular PS4 controller?
No, I have a wired Razer Raiju.
Somebody
apparently somebody has put out a video on it, and with certain games and certain actions, sometimes there just happens to be this weird latency that happens. I'm not sure really what's causing it. So
that's interesting. It said
go ahead.
during it's wired.
Yeah,
you'd think the wired would be better,
a lot more responsive. So
yeah.
Well, you'll have to test out that new Astro you got. You gotta wait for street date.
Yeah, so Wednesday when I can go pick that up, we'll be testing on the Astro C40, and then I'm gonna borrow my brother's regular PlayStation controller and sync that up and test it on there too.
Okay. Leigh, what about you? You're playing on Xbox, right?
Yeah. It's got a little chug. It does have a little chug, kind of that kind of It's
So-
unlocked at 30, so it's kind of variable. It doesn't dip below very much, but it's kind of that all over the place type thing.
Yeah, that could be a bummer.
I've
I
got the
imagine.
S. Yeah, but I don't find it's that much because they've never had really great performance, have they? They've always had issues getting their things running quite right, like with stuff like
On console specifically.
frame pacing and stuff like that. I understand
Yeah.
there's all problems with that sort of thing, which is a big thing for theirs, and I don't think much has changed.
Yeah.
But yeah, but it runs relatively smoothly on the S.
Mm-hmm.
X is supposed to be a lot better, but still those issues you kind of now sort of expect from Suspect.
Yeah, I watched some of the Digital Foundry coverage, and it looks like they all have frame pacing issues. But I guess there was something about the Xbox One X that you can turn on like 120 hertz mode. I don't know if that's in the game or on the Xbox itself. I wasn't 100% sure because I looked on mine and I didn't see that setting. And even if it doesn't actually support 120 frame rates, obviously it's stuck between, well, on the base consoles it's around 30, and then on the higher consoles it is floating between around 40 and 50 for frame rate.
Well, I watched that Digital Foundry thing. I'm not very tech head, so I don't know if it's set to your TV. If your TV is compatible for your 120 hertz.
I think
quite right.
I think the reason why
the S also does it. The S also
Right.
has the 120 mode if you need to use it. As well
Right.
as the X.
Yeah, the both the Xboxes have the 120 hertz if you want to turn it on, but I think your TV has to support it, even though it won't technically use it. And the reason why that works is because when you're floating around in the they call it the no man's land with frame rate, which is between the 40s and the 50s. You start to run into issues where your frame rate and your refresh rate don't match up ever. Like you start cutting frames in half on refreshes and stuff like that. But by increasing the refresh rate of the console, in this case to 120 hertz, you also increase the likeliness that your frames are going to refresh at the your frames are going to hit when the screen is refreshing, so you have a better chance to not miss skipped frames and stuff like that. I wish games would choose like a frame rate, like a set number that would be especially games like this that you're kind of care about how smooth the game plays and how responsive everything is, to choose 30 frames per second and just make it a really nice, smooth, constant 30 frames per second, because games do that. There are plenty of games out there that they lock their thing at 30 and it just plays really well. It feels real super smooth, but when it fluctuates all the time, that's where you start to run into issues and start noticing it.
Another thing is that I watched the Digital Foundry thing, and apparently the tests that they played before they got their copies were running at 60. So that's a fairly solid 60. So I don't know what changed between the demos they played wherever they're playing it and between the copies they got. Which was strange.
Yeah, I don't know.
Something changed between then and now.
It's hard to tell. Along the like what you're actually playing, whether or not you're hoping that you're playing whatever they're saying you're playing, but a lot of times you'll find that you're actually playing the PC version. So consensus is you guys are like it, and you're gonna keep playing at it, even though it's it's definitely testing your mettle, so to speak.
Very much so. I'll go on, Derek.
I was gonna say I'll definitely keep playing it, and I might treat it kind of like I did Bloodborne. I played it a bit and then I had stopped for a while came back to it and enjoyed it like so much more. That I actually like went through, finished everything. It just seemed a lot refreshing, like checking out, seeing what it is right off the bat, kind of putting it on the shelf for a while, revisiting it, and then just having a way better experience than I was having before. So I'm kind of get the feeling that that's what happens with this game.
Yeah, I get that a lot with these types of games too, where especially if you're getting frustrated with a particular situation, taking a step back and playing something else and then coming back to it with a fresher mindset helps out. I find that with puzzle games as well, helps out a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm interested in it. I was not able to pick it up when it first dropped, but I'm gonna keep an eye out for a good deal on it and pick it up when I have a little bit more time to sink into some games, because I guess it's a pretty big game.
It's really great. Yeah, I think they reckon it tops about 40 hours or so.
Yeah, that's what I heard, and that's if you just kind of mainline it, which is
it's really great.
What you expect from these kinds of games. The FromSoft games are, if you put enough into it, you can get a ton of time out of it, like up to 60, 70 hours on some of the Dark Souls games and stuff like that.
Yeah, 'cause it seems like there's a lot of different ways to go and explore. But like I said, eventually it'll kind of like block you off, but the replayability is there as well.
And again, it does fun you in because it wants to tell you that story. It wants to tell you the story that you don't get from maybe another Souls game.
Right. Yeah. There's story there, but you have to go online and look it up.
There's more set pieces. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice.